So Bear Force talked about the Pac-12, ACC, and also the Big Ten Alliance. And eventually they want their non-conference. They're going to drop the 8 games. The conferences that are playing 9 go to 8, and they have 4 non-conference games. And 2 of those 4 will be cross-section games, correct? Baylor is set to play Utah in 23, Utah in 24, Oregon in 27 and 28. Now, that's an eternity from now. But they have said, if I remember correctly, when the alliance was announced, that they're not going to mess with anything that's already under contract. But you will start immediately when that alliance begins, you will start to lose the part of the pie that you can go and get non-conference games. Those 3 conferences may not add any more conference games in the future, like almost immediately, because they got to figure out how they're going to play each other, correct?
Yeah, they got to figure out how they're going to play each other. Plus, if you're already, say, I'm going to pick a random Big Ten team. Say you're Purdue,
okay,
and your schedule includes that year Clemson and USC. Do you really want to go to the Big 12 and play UCF? Do you really want to do that? Or do you want to, maybe play Arkansas State?
Yeah, it's
Toledo.
It's going to be interesting how you kind of juggle. It's almost going to be like an NFL War Room draft board. Here's this conference, can't do anything here. Can't do anything here. Can't do anything here. This is what we have. And eventually what the point might be is the pie might shrink. And the SEC, despite growing, they're going to maybe play, 9 conference games? Some of them they're already longtime rivals, and other games they've tied up. And I asked Mac Rhodes when he was on with us Tuesday about Texas, Oklahoma. Could you start back up with playing them? You may not have a choice whether it's those 2 teams. You might have to look at the possibility of the Big 12 looking with the SEC as far as non-conference games. If no one's telling me that. I'm not even saying that will happen, but you might have to look that way. They have Auburn in 25 and 26.
What do you mean have to look that way?
Well, because if you can't add any more teams from the 3 conferences that are aligned, if they're going to play each other with those non-conference games, you almost lose 3 of the 5 Power 5s. You're one of the other ones. The only one left is the SEC. So you might have to look to them for some of your non-conference games going forward, unless you have whatever becomes of the AAC or the Mountain West and some of those conferences as well.
Scheduling is a bit of a snafu, but, at the same time, everybody's schedules got wrecked last year, and they pulled it off without a problem. You know what I mean? So I think with years to prepare, there's a way to figure this out, and maybe just you can't go to as many conference games as you like originally. I don't know. I mean, there will be some things to figure out, no doubt. I don't think that it'll get to the point where like a Big 12 can't schedule a Pac-12 team anymore. I think that would be super strange to go that far with it, to where you're just eliminating possibilities. But yeah, I mean, there's only so many games you can play, so it'll all depend on how many conference games that they settle on and how many non-conference games they settle on. If some decide, hey, we're going to have 4 non-conference games, maybe you can fit in. But yeah, these larger conferences mean probably more conference games. So I don't know. I would like to see, these big non-conference type of games, but if the Pac-12 is just going to be playing the ACC and the Big Ten, then hey, we're still going to get those. The Big 12, you're right, we'll probably have to go and tangle with the SEC a little bit, but
that's fine with me.
Yeah, that'd be fine, and it's a little bit of a mess to have to figure out.
From Robert Pesaturo, it doesn't make sense, this is his chat to us, for the Mountain West schools to go to the AAC. It's not a big enough upgrade to make it worth changing conferences. And remember now, it looked like for a while there with speculation and rumors, or what Bob Bowlesby was accusing ESPN of doing and the AAC, that they were trying to become and raid the Big 12. That never happened. It went the other way. They got 3 of their 4 teams, or 3 of the 4 teams are from the AAC. So, again, these are the group of 5. Dennis Dodd with the report. It's on CBS Sports. We'll have Max Olson today at 4 and ask him a little bit about it as well.
Well, that's where Mike Oresco has to make worth their while. I mean, that's what the AAC has to do now moving forward, is become more attractive. That's what the Big 12 had to do, is make sure that even everything that happened, they're still more attractive than the AAC. So as long as you can, stay ahead of the, you don't have to be the fastest guy. You just have to be faster than the slowest lion or whatever it is, So if they can stay ahead of that, then yes, maybe it is worth it. But he's right. Like right now, I'm not sure what the big money difference would be between the Mountain West and the AAC.
The Wyoming AD has already said, like, I don't see what the point is. But that's Wyoming. So, there's their opinion. Maybe the others that are actually being talked about feel differently. I don't know what the big scale up would be. I don't have, like, off the top of my head the breakdown of money for the Mountain West versus the American Athletic Conference. I mean, I'm sure that, if ESPN is involved in this, which I would imagine they probably are, since they own the rights to the American, that there would be some enticement of some sort to make some sense, whether it be more TV time or whatever. But, yeah, I mean, at least one AD in the conference who's not one of those rumored is saying, like, I don't see the point. So it's just – and to be clear, this is not these schools saying, hey, we want to do this either. This is simply a reporter saying this is who – the American is going to look at or is probably looking at as their focus if they are to expand. And look, they're at 8 teams once these 4 leave, so they have to do something. And perhaps some have bandied about the idea of a full-on merger with the some conferences because they're all going to be whittled down to some extent. So I mean, I would like to know what that poll would be as well, because the American isn't that much of a step up from the Mountain West, in my opinion.
If the SEC, when they do go and add Texas and Oklahoma, which is a matter of probably in a couple of years, if the possible timeline's less a little bit, let's say 2023, at June of 2023 or whenever, they already have some of those schools have some of their own non-conference games lined up, right? They've been playing 8. Last year was different because of COVID. They only played each other. They might have to have some out-of-conference games that they don't have room for. If they play 9 conference games and I don't know how many teams already have 4 non-conference games like that. I don't know. I don't know how many of those do. And on top of that, remember Alabama and Texas, an example. They're supposed to play next year. It is a non-conference game. That most likely will be a non-conference game next year. I know that you argue back and forth on what might happen, but that's a non-conference game. Eventually, that's going to become a conference game. So that then eliminates a non-conference game on UT's schedule, even though they're going to add
Alabama's.
And they already have 9 conference games, and Alabama's.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
So
It's just a thought. It'd be interesting to hear from Max Olson. Eventually, we'll ask Mac Rhodes again next time we have him as well. All right, this is one thing I'd like to get into as well. Yesterday, this was a story in The Athletic, on theathletic.com.